Hi everyone, I'm Angie Bailey,
And I'm Aurora Newton.
and this is Ask the A Team. And
We're giggling because
we're gonna talk about sandpaper,
something that really rubs you the wrong way.
or someone that
yeah,
really rubs you
yes,
the
or
wrong way.
But sometimes, many times, sandpaper, even though it can rub us the wrong way, or like on wood, it takes off the finish. What it can leave is a platform for something more beautiful to come.
Yeah.
So we have to remember that.
We do.
Like, so let's talk about the rubbing first.
So I think the rubbing has a lot to, it can go against the grain.
Yeah.
I once, God bless my husband, I said, honey, I can redo these wood floors in a house that we had purchased. And I was like,
love you.
I can do it and I can save all this money. He was like, okay, you go for it. And I go out and I rent the sander. I talked to the guy at Home Depot.
This is why we're friends, because we are so
This is several years ago. We're married. This is almost 15 years ago, and so it was before Pinterest, before everybody was Googling everything. And so I was talking to the guy at Home Depot and like, how do I do this? What do I do? All this kind of stuff, and get the little hand sander for around the baseboards and everything. And he tells me how to do it. And so I go and I turn this machine on.
Right. There she goes. Where did she go? Oh, she's sanding the floor.
And I was like, so I called him up. I was like, hey, babe, I've got all the stuff here, and I'm gonna need your help a little bit.
Just a little bit.
It's a little powerful. But what I learned is to go with the grain, and I think has a lot to do with our attitude when we're in a situation that's sandpaper to us, or we have a person that is sandpaper to us. A lot of it has to do with our attitude, and are we letting them go against our grain, or are we like, let me reposition my attitude, let me reposition how I'm going to deal with you, and I'm gonna make this work for me, like I'm just and it's gonna be good for both of you. And I think that's how, because if you've ever seen anything sanded against the grain, it's not very pretty.
No.
It looks pretty junky, actually. And so it's all about repositioning yourself to go with the grain. So
well, and as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about growing up. My dad gave me a lesson in cutting meat with the grain, or going against the grain, because when you cut against the grain, your meat is tougher.
Yeah.
And I always thought that's so funny. It's the same block of meat. It's just like you talked about. It's the same person that we're dealing with, maybe, or the same situation that we're dealing with. But how we position that, like how I position that knife to cut, how I position that sandpaper to go with or against the grain, is gonna be whether it's tough or unattractive, or whether it's smooth.
Yeah.
And I think when it's people, when it's someone that you actively know, like there are some people that just really go against my grain just the minute
they grate you.
They do, and it happens. We all have those.
That. We do.
But it is, my first attitude when I know I'm going to have to encounter them is to start praying for them, because when I pray for someone, exactly when you pray for someone, then there's a grace and a mercy over your life that you are actually building into them, and they might not even know it, but you're also shifting the atmosphere in the spiritual realm, so that the enemy can't come along and try and swoop in and just kind of add a little bit to that going against the grain. Throw a little salt on that, Let's just make it worse, right? Let's get grooves and pits in that. And so it's so important that when we know we're going to be in a situation like that we reposition. We think about that. We pray for that person, and we have healthy boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. I once had a neighbor that used to make jewelry boxes. He had a workshop in his garage. It was Dave, you know him.
Oh yeah.
And he used to make jewelry boxes for a museum. And he showed me once, and he taught me how he got them so smooth, because they were like those jewelry boxes. I can't even remember the actual kind, but they were just so smooth to the touch. It like almost felt like silk. Beautiful really finish. Well, and that's what he said. He said you start out with a rougher sandpaper, and then you work yourself up, or down. And he said, and then the final thing that he used to sand, his jewelry boxes was a brown paper bag from like the grocery store. because it was like, and it's like, and that's what we can allow the Lord to do in our lives. If we want to be soft and we want to be smooth, and these jewelry boxes were worth so much, they sold them in a museum.
They're beautiful.
They were gorgeous. And if we want to be of that quality, if we want to be that smooth, if we want to reflect beauty like that, and just the craftsmanship, then we have to allow those different grades of, and you know, the more that he didn't come to a smooth surface and then start with another piece of rough paper.
Right.
You know, it's like once you get to that point, things just kind of like water off a duck's back, my mom would always say. You know, and things you because you've grown and because you've matured and because you've come to this smooth finish in your life, things are different.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
You have to go through the process to get to the promise.
That's right.
Or to the beauty of the box.
Yeah,
so the next time we have those grading situations, the next time you have those grading situations, think of it that way. It's a refining process for you. For me, for you.
And it can actually help the person that's the sandpaper, because they may not only be your sandpaper, that might be their personality, and you can really call out the gold in their life and change who they are. Yeah.
Yep. You might be the rough sandpaper, or you might be the paper bag in their life.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We love talking about these things.
We do. If this has helped you in any way or can help someone you know, please like or share, and don't forget to follow Ask CA Team.
Bye.
Bye.